Hello to everyone. Today we'll be talking about thefts, vehicle thefts, and I'm very happy to see you here, Srinivas from India, from Transglobal Geomatics. He will be our speaker. Nick from the United Kingdom, from Synergy Automotive Company. Sanjay Vakuray from Sri Lanka, from Cloud IP. And we will be waiting for our fourth speaker from Zimbabwe, Benson. He's just on his way to the office, but he will be able to join us very soon. Actually, this subject is not a very traditional, maybe telematic subject. However, we wanted to talk about it, about thefts, and today we will be also talking about property thefts, asset thefts, not only about vehicle thefts, and we'll be sharing our experience with you. Just some few introductory words before starting to introduce our speakers, and before they start sharing their experience, I would like just to tell you a bit about how the situation is in Russia, because maybe it also may be interesting to you. I wouldn't say that vehicle thefts is really a big issue in Russia. For sure, there are many thefts. However, normally there are many thefts, and this is really the urgent subject in really big cities like in Moscow, in St. Petersburg, Yekaterinburg. We are based in Perm. Perm is not a small town, it's a really big city. However, it's around 1,500 kilometers far from Moscow and from the central Russia, politically central, I mean, not geographically, because we are just in the middle of Russia. And actually, I can't say that we really face this problem in telematic very often. However, I know that in your countries, and especially in Africa, in the Latin America, the problem is really urgent, and you actually face this issue almost every day. And by the end of this meetup, I will be sharing just a bit with you our solution, which we have. Hello, Benson.
Hi, Ksenia, how are you doing?
Yes, I'm just introducing the subject of our meetup. This is the first meetup we are making in Neomatica, because previously we did a lot of webinars, but finally we decided that maybe it's getting a bit boring for our audience, because people also want to talk and want to share their experience. So let's get started. And my first question, because I have already shared, Benson, with our guests, the opinion that and our experience that in Russia we can't say that actually telematically we always face the problem of theft. How is the situation in your country? Let's get started, I don't know, from maybe Nick from the United Kingdom. How is the situation in the United Kingdom? Are thefts really an urgent issue in your country? And because now many people say that after this pandemic situation, the thefts occur more often. And so will you confirm this, or maybe you don't agree?
Good morning, everybody. Yeah, in the UK, theft of cars and from cars has always been a kind of significant issue. And I don't know what the statistics are, and you know, you would like to think that with the pandemic it might have gone down, and maybe less activity, people staying at home more. So we can't confirm any figures on that, you know. But we're seeing some radical changes in recent years how cars are actually stolen. And in addition, we're getting a lot of theft, particularly from commercial vehicles that people like plumbers, tradesmen are using. So they're breaking into the vehicles. Sometimes they're stealing, there's a lot of stuff in some of these larger vehicles. So it's easier to steal the whole vehicle and then empty it, Some of these vehicles are going missing and they're appearing and going off to different countries. They may leave the country in a container, but there's some sophisticated methods being used nowadays, including what we call a relay theft, which can be used on cars with PKE, passive keyless entry. So there's devices that are out there that can be commercially purchased on online sites like Amazon and eBay, and they can be utilized and to take some top-end cars that have got passive keyless entry on, and these cars are obviously then distributed. They're very highly organized professional gangs. And then we've got the other end where we're trying to secure vehicles with vehicle security in the form of an audible alarm as well, some of these technologies that have been introduced in recent years have been, now highlighted that there's some vulnerabilities with the security systems as well. So where we're using CAN devices on the CAN where people have to enter a secret code using the buttons on the vehicle, it's, they've become increasingly vulnerable. And it's also RFID devices, what we call ADR cards, automatic driver recognition cards, are typically working on 433 megahertz, which is the same frequency that the car manufacturers are using on their systems. So what we're finding is that, by using similar technologies to overcome these problems, is the wrong thing to do. We need to put some other lines of protection on there. Hence the reason, we've looked at the ADM33 wireless immobilizer, because Bluetooth's a very secure protocol, whereas we're using CAN, which has been with us for about 30 years now, was never designed with security in mind. It was designed as a bus protocol to reduce complexity of wiring, and so it can send messages on the bus. But these can be easily overcome now and hacked, and this is what the problem is. FlexRay is a different protocol, probably more secure, but we've got spoofing, and people can read the CAN and even take over systems, and there's vulnerabilities with cars like Tesla. So these are all things that we need to look at, really, to mitigate the risk to the end user, and try and prevent some of that theft from cars, and ultimately the theft of the whole vehicle as well,
Because thieves become smarter and smarter, I think, more professional as well.
Yeah, we need modern devices, that are cutting edge technology. We need to be using different protocols to the ones that have the same vulnerabilities, So we can't repair a hole with another hole, we gotta kind of reinvent the wheel a little bit, but those devices are there, and the market needs to shift, to address the current needs. And I think people need to be very nimble and move very quick in these markets, because the trends for stealing the vehicles and the trends on the vehicles, the manufacturers are very slow to react. So in a kind of aftermarket situation, we can have a device today and we can fit it tomorrow, so we can react very quick to the market. And I think that these are the important things that we need to take to the market different devices that can provide the solutions, you know?
Sure, sure. Thank you, Nick. Actually, you covered many questions. So, and we have here one company from Zimbabwe, from Africa. Nick represents a company from Europe, and Srinivas and Sanjeva are both from Asian region. It will be very interesting to hear your opinion. India, for example, now we sell our devices in India, and we can say that India is one of our main markets right now. Very interesting and really huge market. But honestly, Srinivas, I do not have any idea about thefts in India, because I know that your laws are very strict. I saw a video with this guy who violated the quarantine.
Who was that?
I just saw in Russia, we saw a video with one guy in India who violated the quarantine, the lockdown, and they were just beating him with...
That's just a few incidents.
Because I don't know, in Arab countries, they say, they often say that there are no thefts, because if you steal something, you will be killed. And
I understood.
How is the situation in India with theft?
Coming to the pandemic, like we are open to COVID now. So the India is completely open to COVID, not the safe zone. So you are at your risk to go out. So no lockdown, nothing. Now it's completely open since 8th of this month. So the shopping malls, restaurants, and everything is open to the public. And the cases are rising every day, like 10,000 to 50. You know that the population is too high. We cannot control it. But if you look at the economy, so we need to take little steps for the future, because as an entrepreneur, we are facing a lot of issues. The transportation has commenced, and we do not have the manpower who can go and support on site. Because of the COVID, the support engineers are cooperating to go and look into our surveys in particular states where the COVID is very high. So you know the pain, like you can't get the money until unless you give a service to your customers.
Yeah.
So that is the current situation. So coming to this today's topic, India has started giving this self-driving cars, like like on rental basis. It's only 2 to 3 years back, and many players have entered the market. We can say that some corporates, and now even the private vendors have started giving the vehicles on lease to the people who can take it on their own for rental kind of thing. The problem is now, I do deal with nearly 1,000 plus partners who are into this business. The major problem comes in, as Nick pointed out, once there is a theft, the turnaround time should be, and we should be able to bring it back within 6 to 8 hours. If it is crossing 6 to 8 hours, it's gone case. You cannot take control of any vehicle. That's the scenario. And once you file a case with the police about the stealing, and it takes 8 months minimum to recover your vehicle. So which is really pain for any car owner. So as of now, what we are dealing is there's a huge theft, to be frank, but we could able to catch the people easily because of the strategies which we are following with the GPS. We're installing 2 devices. Okay, that's the only, as of now, that's the only thing where we can able to hold some vehicles back to our partners. We are installing two sensors, 2 GPS trackers, and the thief can identify. And if he could identify both the trackers, we can't do anything. With the one, we could able to 50% chances are we're getting the vehicles, and remaining 50, we are fighting to get it back through legal mess, which is going to take long courts, and it's like a lot of money which you are losing it in the 8 months to 1 year span of time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the current scenario. We have huge problem. That's the reason we are looking forward to take your trackers and test the BLE sensor, so that we'll see the possibilities. I spoke to all the vendors, and all are very positive. All are 99%. All are positive, and they are looking forward to test the devices. So let's see how best we are going to associate with you to bring this stealing rate less compared to the previous days.
Okay, and in Sri Lanka, Sanjayeva, you told me that you do not face vehicle thefts very often, but in the contrary, you are facing some property thefts, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, carjacking, what I meant is carjacking is less and theft is high. I mean, the vehicle theft or the theft of the items inside the vehicle is what is high here and in different areas. But it's the theft is itself is not sophisticated. But what is sophisticated here is because being an island, there's nowhere that you can take the vehicles. So because of that, what has improved and sophisticated is the conversion. Um, so what they do is they steal the vehicle and they take it to places. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. They take it to conversion centers where they can completely make a brand new, turn it into a brand new vehicle within a few hours. So if the police didn't act very fast, it will be a completely different vehicle with new engine number, new color, and new everything new basically, and they resell it. So that's how mainly it happens here. But the loophole is most of the time it is. There's some connection with the driver. So it looks like a carjacking, but actually it is not. It's a theft because the driver is connected. So most of the time, police can recover it with the some connection with the driver when you go on those lines. But since the theft is not very sophisticated, most of the time we have been able to find with either truckers or the engine immobilizer. We've been able to tackle it. So on the other hand, what is very high is the theft when it comes to what is goods in the vehicles or vehicle itself is what is very frequent here.
Okay, thank you. And Benson, what about Zimbabwe? And generally, I would like you to share with us your experience, globally African experience, because I know that actually you are working not only in Zimbabwe, in other African countries. How is the situation in Africa, in Central Africa in this case, women?
Yeah, sure. In our markets we are operating, we really face a lot of hijacks from South Africa, where we operate from. Besides South Africa, we have Zimbabwe, Ghana. These other markets have low rates of vehicle hijacking, but South Africa is really a tricky one. You know, it's a hotspot in the whole of Southern Africa. So you find that most of the vehicles that are hijacked in South Africa are either exported to Zimbabwe or broken down in South Africa, or they're exported to Mozambique. You know? Generally, that's the hotspot. It's really a tricky market. Just like you just mentioned that the thieves and the hijackers trace down the devices, you know, and try to disconnect them. And in most cases, you know, it's funny that when they don't find the device, in some cases they actually abandon the vehicle because their worry is they might get caught. The device is hidden somewhere. So if they really don't find any device, the vehicle in South Africa is abandoned. But then to come to Zimbabwe, which is my home country and where I'm currently in, the cases are not as many as South Africa. We can just quickly have a few steps because we do work hand in hand with vehicle theft squad, which is a police department in our country, you know, to help either our clients or get an outlook of what's happening in the market.
Okay.
from December up to date, the month that recorded most hijackings was December, and the numbers are not much. They were recorded 49 hijackings as for December in Zimbabwe. Then to February, the number dropped to 38, and March the number rose to 40. And then in April, which is the month we were in total lockdown because of COVID, the number only 8 vehicles were recorded stolen. And then as of June, as of today, there are 10 already recorded vehicle hijackings. So you see that June is actually on a trajectory to beat almost all these other previous months. And to look at the types of vehicles mostly which are stolen, they are like phases where certain vehicles are targeted for different reasons. Like currently in June, over 70% of the 10 vehicles, about 7 of the 10 vehicles that have been recorded stolen are very small vehicles which are used as pirate taxis. These taxis are not licensed, you know. So the guys just steal them from wherever they are or they are parked, and then use them to use on illegal routes which are not. So that's generally how our hijacking cases are like. And then we also have the sophisticated guys who hijack high-powered vehicles, the Revo, the likes. These vehicles are mostly stolen, and the recovery rate is very low.
Okay. Okay.
Why? Because within ways across the border, mostly through undesignated points, and once they cross, they are never recovered. And the average recovery rate is around 30% of all the vehicles that are stolen in our market. So generally, that's how hijacking in our country is like. And then on to issues that deal with the hijacking. We just use the general GPS trackers related to remote immobilizers where any hijacking on our customer is recorded. We send an SMS, and as soon as the vehicle drops its speed to a safe traveling speed, the vehicle just shuts the engine. So that's how we dealing with hijackings. So we look into getting other sophisticated means, as it has been mentioned before, that the thieves are getting also sophisticated. So we also need to stay ahead of the curve in terms of monitoring or managing such high. So we're looking to be trying out, the new devices which are bringing, the BLE immobilizer, so to ensure that at least we are ahead of the curve, and we try and reduce these cases.
Okay, thank you, Benson. Actually, you are always talking about how sophisticated, how smart are your thieves, the thieves in your countries, in Russia as well. They're very smart sometimes. In the Latin America, because tonight we'll have the same meetup, but in Spanish, with the guys from Peru and Mexico. For them, this issue is really urgent because they have lots of thefts, car thefts, and even many actually lorries thefts with full of some valuable things inside, and so on and so far. And when you are talking about traditional ways for preventing these thefts, actually in telematics we are always thinking over immobilizer, which may be connected with some wires to your GPS tracker output, and it's fine. However, you know that, and you said that thieves are very sophisticated, and I would like to talk about what special devices, what instrumentation, maybe special mechanisms do the thieves use in your countries. because I know, based on my experience in the Latin America, they often use jammers, for example, to block the signal. And what specific devices, what approaches do the thieves use in your countries? Nick, I don't know anything about what they do in the United Kingdom, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, with jammers, but just turning back to what Benson was saying and I think we're all kind of face the same problems, but looking for solutions. And Srinivas was talking about secondary tracking systems. So we're thinking, and this is one of the reasons, we kind of want to look at the ADM 007, because we think that we can embed that in other devices to conceal it easier, and maybe only have it powered up on the ignition, so we'll get the last fix so it can't be scanned or anything, or have that linked to other devices. And then Benson was talking about, hijacking, and although we haven't got I don't think the problem on the same level, we have got a problem. And as you know, I've talked to you in the last sort of week and looking at things we're doing, and we're looking at, I think if somebody gets hijacked, we have to bear in mind, that the driver is in some danger. These people might be armed, they're pretty ruthless. What the hijacking situations we get here is with delivery drivers, So they may be a driver for, a kind of Amazon type of operation, typically Amazon or DPD. And they, the cost of the goods inside the rear of the vehicle are inevitably worth more than the actual vehicle itself. That's what they're interested in. It could be full of, computers or phones or very high value devices. They may have even been tipped off in certain instances. And we're dealing with companies that have put trackers in boxes, and then they're planted as well. And, several people have been caught. And these are people inside the business that are acting fraudulently, that know that there's mobile phones or whatever that are being transported, and they're caught by internal tracking systems in the boxes. So when we get a hijack situation, we're looking at to allow them to take it away, but to link in with a BLE, with a speed limiting device. So when the vehicle has slowed down, so it's not in any danger of cutting out suddenly and endangering other users, when it comes to a halt and it's out of range of the BLE, that the vehicle can be put into a forced idle mode. This means that basically the vehicle will still be running, but the accelerator pedal, they can't go anywhere, once that vehicle's stopped. So there's some safety kind of measures put into place so, it can remain safe. But yeah, coming back to your question, with devices that you use, I think jammers are probably like, probably the least sophisticated, because these won't work with everything. So typically the jammers, we can flick a switch from 300 megahertz to 433 megahertz, which is the pan-European frequency for remote controls. And then these are powered by a small battery, a PP3 battery inside. And these are left in a bag somewhere, and they could just be put in a bush. And then people lock the cars, or they think they've locked the cars, and they haven't. And then people can come along in a car park and steal goods from the vehicle, or and then they can easily gain access to the vehicle. And there are devices in there from companies in Eastern Europe typically, and there's another company in Beirut as well that are well known to the people who need to steal these vehicles without advertising them, that sell devices that you can clone a new key onto the vehicle once you've accessed the OBD, or even on some instances, they can put a key on the windscreen of the vehicle and they can get onto on certain vehicles, again, without going into it, they can get onto the lane departure unit, the radar sensors. They can access some of these devices from outside the car behind the bumpers, you know, so it's quite easily, you know, quite easy to access these devices.
Sure.
They're sometimes quite expensive, but obviously if they steal a car and they sell it, a high value car, you know, they've only got to steal one vehicle and they'll get a return on their investment on this equipment, you know. So there's a lot of it about, and I think the principal concern is the top end cars, and they'll disappear typically to Eastern Europe or Africa or, you know, Far East, anywhere, you know, they'll find a market for them, you know. Because we're right-hand drive as well, some of the markets, obviously, in mainland Europe, everybody drives on the left-hand side, yeah, on the right-hand side. But there's a big demand for right-hand vehicles in other regions as well, you know. And there's a lot of top-end cars in the UK, so I think this is why we have a problem that's particularly prevalent at the top end of the market.
Okay. Yes, we also have some right-handed cars in Russia, but not so many. Sure, it's very that's not a traditional type of car for us. Yeah, and in Russia, I don't know whether they use as well this method in the UK or in Africa, in Asia. But in Russia, thieves now put beacons on the car they want to steal, and they're just following this car for some time and waiting, and when there is the good moment to steal it, they do it. And I don't know whether they use in your countries as well, but in Russia, the thieves are really very smart. And what about jammers and such techniques in India, Srinivas? Do they use jamming devices?
Not this is say I didn't find any kind of jamming cases so far. We do have large fleet and our thing, but have not come across. Maybe I do not know that. But as of now, they didn't use the jammers. Okay. And we do have all the devices are coming with the jamming alerts, right? Now, so so far there is no legal. We work with the DHL, more than 6,000 vehicles across India. But we have not seen any kind of a jamming technology being used by thieves. Maybe we are in safe zone. Well, Nick was talking about jamming. We are not that advanced so far.
And in Sri Lanka, Sanjay, is it the same? They do not use jammers at all?
We have come across some, but it's not a frequent issue here as well, because what happens is when the jammer is used, like unless if they are taking the vehicle, like a carjacking, where they take the vehicle in total control, all other types of theft will get eventually caught, or the monitoring, like now, if we take into many sides, like say we are doing monitoring, and then we are also having maybe immobilizer and the application. So based on the application, if the monitoring is happening, the moment the pattern changes, the monitoring staff will look into it, what happened, and if they are planning to do something and get back, then the jammer will not help, because now even recently we came across one guy is using a jammer to sort of misuse the vehicle during some time. But the thing is, we detect, because we know that he's doing something, because it's so that we secondary trackers, or we do alternative ways to find, because we know that it is not perfect. Like, so for instance, like we change the drivers, then it doesn't happen, and you know, so through monitoring, we have been able to always tackle this problem to some extent, but it is not a common issue here.
Okay. Benson, and how smart are thieves in Africa? Do they use jammers? Do they use beacons? And you know, maybe we'll be passing to the next question about vehicle recoveries, because in Russia, for example, I know that they say if you didn't recover the stolen vehicle within 24 hours after the theft. So the probability that you will recover it is very low. I don't know whether this rule is also working in your countries. So Benson, how do you think?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, that the recovery rate of stolen vehicles is around 30%. So it means most of the cars that are being hijacked are not being recovered. You know,
Okay.
but then look on the issue of jamming. Most of the guys in Zim who use jamming devices do not really use them to take away the car, but just to ensure that you can't lock in there. They have some small devices which they keep on pressing, and the moment you think you're locking your car, it's not locking, and they are there to just take away the goods in the car, such stuff like laptops, etc. So you come back from a car park and you'd see that all your valuables in the car are stolen, but the car is still there. So generally, those who do jamming do it for the purposes of taking away valuables which are in the car.
Yes. Okay. So it's all about valuables normally, not about the car. Yeah. That's interesting because it's actually the type of some Latin American countries as well.
It's all about the valuables in the goods.
Because this is because the vehicles are normally old and no, they're just
yes. As you might know that most of the majority of the cars in our country are Japanese, ex-UK, and the like. So they are generally old, not as new as we might generally. So the vehicles now are not advanced. You'd see we have vehicles like 5 coming in as new in the country and the like. So they had such advanced systems. So you're adding up in terms of just to prevent that, we add extra alarms. We fit in the cars so that you add security onto the vehicles.
okay. And I know that Sanjeva, you wanted to tell us about property thefts because you have a specific telematic solution in Cloud IP, yeah, to prevent some property thefts, not vehicle thefts, but property thefts. Am I right?
Correct. Yes, actually, we have done some niche. We have one niche area we have covered is the delivery of cigarettes, vehicles which are small vehicles like motorbike with a box in it, like security box, or it can be like a small cargo, mini trucks, which goes and deliver retail level shops. But this is a very expensive item here. So although the small box has a high value, and always these guys carry cash because they sell it to retail shops and collect cash. So if you get hold of one of these delivery trucks, always they have a lot of cash and cigarettes, both are high value. So this area we have done very large number of fleets, and we have done a with the immobilizer, camera, and the tracker. So
Okay.
here, like when the bikes are parked, it will be immobilized, and we have also done an additional switch to not to be able to sort of sort of misguide the robber, and this is the area we have mostly found issues coming up and theft coming up. So right now from we have been able to actually control it up to uh, almost probably 99%. Actually, we have not heard anything which was very high in the past before they installed the solution. Today, almost they have zero because we've been able to handle it because the moment the container is open, it takes shots. Actually, we put still cameras, but in this particular solution, and the moment it sends shots, already the somebody who looked at the box, the photograph is taken. So either we find the robber, or we stop the theft, or they don't come to rob the bike or the truck. And somehow we have been able to control this solution. And another area is we have done in a very sort of large steps happening in cement mixer trucks, where they go and unload partially to some unwanted places. So here also we've through tracking we have been able to monitor the path and the unloading locations, and also the truck cement truck, whether it's unloading or mixing, we can detect. We have installed detectors. So through this we've been able to, so like that we have taken in niche areas and given them specific solutions. So cement we have tackled very well. The cigarette delivery and the small item, high value item delivery like liquor delivery we have tackled. So depending on specific problems, you try to give a third sensor, like like tracking immobilizer plus another third sensor which is specific to the industry, and we've been able to tackle most of the customers that who have come to us, and also in case of actually conversion centers, we've been able to work with police and tackle about in the past year, 3 major conversion centers. So once the conversion center is tackled, that solves problem for many people in the industry, because the conversion centers are the places where all these people take the vehicles and convert. So in these ways, we've been able to sort of control and help to stop this in happening.
Good. And all this is based on WeAlone, as far as I know, yeah?
Yes, it is. It is actually the tracking and all the options based on WeAlone. And but now, like we have also come up with sort of applications like on mobile where some alerts. So acting fast is the biggest sort of important thing here. So we've developed like mobile applications where, without going into a lot of hassle, to get like our hazer, where we get the alerts into the mobile of maybe not the people who regularly monitor, but additional people as well. So by so that they can act fast.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. And maybe to end up, I would like to you as experts in telematics just to share your opinions regarding what we lastly did with our wireless immobilizer, because you know that actually we started producing our wireless immobilizers last December, and first it was not autonomous, so it could only work with our GPS tracker, wireless GPS tracker. And what we did 1 month ago, we released the second application for this immobilizer, and now it became autonomous. So the autonomous wireless immobilizer, how does it sound to you? What do you think about business perspective for this kind of device? And because we are normally aimed at B2B market, and we almost never sell our devices to the end clients. Actually, we don't want to sell them to the end clients, especially especially when it's not in Russia. And what do you think about actually possibilities for this device in this telematic business, especially as for vehicle thefts, car thefts? Maybe you can see some other opportunities for this device. What do you think? Was it really good to make it autonomous, or this is something maybe useless and you will not be using it much? Nick, what do you think?
I think for us, it's a good opportunity because it's quite scalable. I think that we need to hopefully get an Apple iOS app with it. But because of the way it operates, we can have 2 outputs, or we can have normally open, normally closed, and we can have more than 1 device. we can see it used in lots of different ways that can add different layers of security, you know. We're also looking to link it in with a keypad, because with all the types of solutions generically, we have different customers. So we have customers with construction machinery, you know, what we call plant here. And the problem is they have a kind of universal generic key with them. And the market, you know, that particular market suits a keypad, because then you can still use the same key, and then the company can have a code or change the code. So we're looking to link the wireless immobilizer to the current keypad that we buy from a company in Spain. And this way we can use this device in a more secure way than the current keypad, you know. So we can have the immobilizer module hidden, and then have that authenticated by the keypad, you know. So we use a simple method, and then because the operators can change, the drivers of these machines, they could go out and they won't know how to use it, but you know, they can be given a PIN code. That PIN code can be easily changed, and they're the things that we're looking at, you know. So we see it as a kind of almost like a universal solution that we can integrate with some other things using the BLE protocol. So yeah, we're excited to, you know, use it, and we haven't got the pitfalls with CAN, because the CAN devices that are out there can now be easily overcome. So by and large, you know, these current devices that are out there in a similar form but using CAN are now redundant, you know. So we need to have this analog cut, or a separation that can't be hacked, you know. And so we feel that this is the right, you know, product for the market right now, really, you know.
Yes, sure. It's very interesting to compare, maybe even to contrast two sides here, because the United Kingdom market is not so price sensitive as India, for example, I think. And the screeners, for example, what about you? Do you think that the price for this immobilizer, because that's not a secret anymore, that this immobilizer which we made is not actually a very cheap device. It's not very expensive. I will not be sharing now the price of it, but in private I can do it, and you will see that sometimes it may cost even more than a basic GPS tracker. How do you think in the Indian market this cost of wireless immobilizer and this function of being really autonomous, that you can use it really without any GPS tracker, is it justified? May it be really interesting to your market? India.
Yeah, understood. You know that India is too sensitive for pricing, you know.
Too sensitive,
because so the whole world is fighting here with the device pricing and lowering the prices. You'll be surprised to see the pricing of any brand items also here, because the market is so huge. We do have, what I could say, around 3 to 4 crore trucks which are operating across India. And I spoke to the people about the pricing. So I didn't see any negative or a positive response. They want to see the technology, how it's going to safeguard the cars. So instead of losing a car, investing a little more money, that's always safe to get back your vehicles on time.
Sure.
So I don't see, the people are investing in 2 trackers now. So that's the reason, like, we are looking forward, like how the BLE based sensors are going to safeguard the car and the interest of the car owner too, as you can see that. And I think, like Sanjeev have pointed out, hijacking of assets, like the vehicles with high value goods. That's one more thing which we have come across, but very few cases they could able to recover the vehicles. Now we can pitch in and we can tell them, like, this is the way where you can able to safeguard your vehicle. you're losing your time and you're losing the valuable assets too.
Yeah.
And we are looking forward to explore the more business opportunities once we see the device. There's no doubt in that. In India, it's huge, not small. You know it, right? Whatever the market you touch it, it's a huge one. The only thing is how potential it is to the market and where we can able to gain something out of it. Where we can able to make more money out of it. So cost wise, I don't think there could be a problem. We look forward for that. So let me test it over. Let me explore the market. Then we'll get back to you about the pricing part.
Yeah, because it may be an alternative to traditional security instruments for cars.
Yes. Yeah.
Because people do not know much about it right now, but it may be a really alternative. Actually, we are always talking about this wireless immobilizer as just like about a device which may prevent car thefts, vehicle thefts. However, this immobilizer may be introduced in any electrical circuit with the voltage of 12 and 24 volts. And I think you all know John from Indonesia. He,
John, yeah.
Yes, together with our technical guys, they also tried to introduce it even in lower voltage circuits of 6 volts, because they have some old motorbikes or something, and it worked as well. Actually, it's also possible, and I would like just to ask you, Sanjeva, it's interesting to me whether you may see some other opportunities of using this wireless immobilizer, maybe not to prevent car thefts, maybe to prevent some property thefts. Maybe you could introduce it in some other electrical circuits and use it in this way.
Yep. That's where we need to explore the market. Once we see the solution, we don't know what kind of opportunities are waiting in the market. Once we explore the product, it may open many more businesses, as Jan pointed out. That's a good thing. Even I spoke to him a couple of days ago.
Yeah. Sanjeva, what do you think?
Yes, actually, we are already, I mean, in the first place, making it mobile, wireless is we are for it always, because it makes it less, when there are wires, and wiring is deployment is difficult for us. And we normally go for large numbers. So then wireless makes it easy for us, and it becomes more practical and easy for us to repair, replace. Everything becomes easy when it is wireless. So we are definitely for it. And cost has not been much of a problem for us, because we always don't sell like in products. If you see even our website, we always have the only solutions. So customer doesn't know whether we are going to do it wired or we are going to do it wireless. So it's all in our hands, and our solutions are always compared with customers' savings. So it's not about what he pays for the device. Actually, we make him think about what he saves by not losing any shipment within this month. So then they save all the money that they would have otherwise spent on something cheaper. So we will always base them on what they save versus our solution. And we never go to tell whether it's wireless. So it's not a customer problem for us. It's a matter of we deciding what we are going to give. And so as long as the wireless solution is reliable and we can give some solution, we are really for it. So I think we are really looking forward to your solutions that are coming up. Yes. And autonomous, we are definitely for it. Yes.
Okay. And Benson, finally, actually you confirmed my doubts about the South Africa, because you told us that the stolen vehicles, the stolen cars are actually imported in the South Africa, yes, and resold in this country, because the first client and the first demand for this wireless immobilizer actually was from the South Africa, from Johannesburg. We have even here some guys from the South Africa here in the chat. I can see their questions. And the South Africa is a very criminal country, as far as I could understand. Even in contrast with Zimbabwe and some other countries. And actually these guys in Johannesburg use our wireless immobilizer in rental business. When actually the leaser does not pay for the rented car, they block the engine remotely. Nobody understands what happens because it's very new in this country. And even they come to our website and they ask us what happens. Is this your device? How to
unlock it.
And we for sure we do not provide any information to these people. However, it's really amazing how they use it because it's a big shock because really nobody understands what happens because they want to start the engine, but nothing starts. Everything is blocked. How do you think, Benson? Actually, and I know that in Africa mostly you use very traditional
yeah, we feel that there is a good opportunity there in terms of both in South Africa, Zimbabwe, and Zambia. Can you hear me?
Not very well, honestly. I can see you, but the picture is frozen. You are not moving anymore. Maybe you will switch off the video and the speech will be better because I always use this way to improve. Okay, we'll be waiting for Benson, but it's true because in Africa, and actually the idea of creating this immobilizer was African, Latin American, I would say. They were always demanding us to create something without any wired connection with the GPS tracker. So nobody could cut the wires between the GPS tracker. Are you here, Benson?
Yeah, I think something was happening with my network, but I'm there. So I was saying we have a good opportunity, I think, in all the markets we are operating in, including South Africa, where it's much safer to have wireless immobilizer. And also, most importantly, in other markets like Zimbabwe and South Africa, this wireless immobilizer, I think it has a good opportunity to be used in the market, generally because of two reasons. The market doesn't really believe much in monitoring private personal vehicles. Then also the market doesn't have they don't want to pay monthly rental fees for tracking. So generally, because of those two reasons, we think we have a good opportunity of selling the devices onto our market and ensure that at least they can secure, our customers can secure their vehicles from theft.
Okay. So guys, thank you for sharing your opinions, your experience, your solutions, and especially and sincerely thank you for sharing your opinions about our immobilizer. I think that we will be always in touch with you for marketing this new product, for trying to face this issue, how I say, telematically, yeah. And we'll be in touch with you for any further information as well. If somebody from our visitors, among our visitors, wants to get the recorded video of this meetup, just let us know. We will be sharing it with you. So thank you, Nick. Thank you, Skrinivas. Thank you, Sanjeva. Thank you, Benson, very much. See you very soon, I hope. Because the current time.
Pleasure talking to you guys.
Thank you, Rick.
Yeah, it's a win-win for all of us.
Hello. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye, Sanjeev. Bye, Nick.
Bye.
Bye, Benson.
Bye.